I am Samantha Baines. I graduated from Exeter University 15 years ago, please. And I am an actress, comedian, author, broadcaster and writer. Such a list. So I recently published my third book. So my previous books have been children's books with deaf protagonists. This is my first adult non-fiction and it went in as a bestseller, so that was quite nice. And it's all about my life. I discovered I had hearing loss and deafness when I was 29, so a few years ago now. And I jumped into this whole deaf world and the deaf community and started learning sign language. I have a hearing aid. So the book's all about my experiences, and I've also interviewed other deaf people, people who use British Sign Language, people who work for charities. So it's cram-packed with information, but also a few little anecdotes from me about silly things that have happened. And it's kind of the book I looked for when I discovered I was deaf and I was getting a hearing aid but couldn't find. So hopefully it's a little bit amusing, but there's lots of useful information in there as well. My podcast, which is multi-award winning, is called The Divorce Social. And again, it comes from my life. I got divorced and I was quite young at the time and I didn't know anyone else who was going through it. And I thought, am I strange or are other people feeling all these emotions? So I set up the podcast quite selfishly, just to talk to other people who were getting divorced and see if they could relate to what I was going through. And then it kind of turned into this much bigger thing. And yeah, we've just finished series 10. And what's been amazing is I learn something from every person I interview, you know, whether they're a celebrity like Sarah Millican or Rose McGowan, or I interview listeners of the podcast as well about their personal stories. And I think there's so much to relate to and so much advice and words of wisdom. And from the messages from listeners, people seem to really see themselves in the podcast and it helps them get through a really difficult time. And that's, if I have an aim in my career, it's to help people have a nice time. So hopefully that can continue. Coming back today as an anniversary graduation speaker feels quite special. I told some of my friends who I studied here with, who I studied drama, and they laughed. But then they were like, that's so cool. So ever supportive. But it feels really nice. I think if me 15 years ago, if you told me I'd be coming back and doing a speech to students, I would have been very shocked and possibly laughed in your face. So yeah, it feels like a nice, I won't say full circle because I'm not done yet, but it feels like a nice pause moment to actually think about, you know, what I've done in the last 15 years and where my degree has got me in my life so far, and also just see everything on campus and see what's changed and have a nosy around.